Home with Mark. Today is season 3, episode 14, and I have Emily Mother Flippin' Wolfe on the show, and I'm super excited to talk to you, Emily. Thanks for making the time and doing this.
Oh man, when you asked me, I was like, hell yeah, I'll do that. Why not? It sounds
Yeah,
fun,
yeah.
Love it. Yeah.
It's been a good ride so far. Like I started this in COVID because I had gigs, no gigs, nothing to do. And I started it, and it just kind of like, and all these people that I thought would say no said yes, and I was like, oh crap, this is actually turning into something cool. Like,
That's great.
yeah, really
Wow. That's so great.
organically. Yeah,
It's the
um,
way to do it.
totally. And it's been a lot of fun. But my favorite thing about this is just kind of getting to know. It's like if we were sitting in a guitar shop talking and hanging out.
Yeah.
Um, and my first question to all my guests is because I have a very pinpoint moment in my life when I knew like music, like I stopped playing sports and I wanted to play music and I wanted to learn everything there is to know about guitar. Do you have like a really specific moment, or has it just always been in your life?
You know what? I feel like I should grab my prop for this because it'll help me tell the
Grab it.
story.
Yeah,
Can
do
I?
it.
I'm gonna leave camera real quick, but I have it
Okay.
right there.
All right,
Okay.
cool.
So, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. So yes, the moment was I was 5. I was a 5-year-old girl, and my mom took my sister and I to some shop, and it was really like, just for context, I feel like it was Big Lots or something because it was really just at the time like kind of gross, and the the shelves were like really cleared out, and I looked down this aisle and I saw this like
Oh my
specific thing.
gosh.
And I mean, my eyes lit up, and that was the moment for me. Like, I still have it, and I mean, I don't know. It's just like something about this. I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I have to do this, you know?
Nice.
So it's like a harmony. I don't even know what kind it is. It's just, I mean, it's unplayable at this point, but it's really cool that it's still here.
Oh my God, that's so dope.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, did you learn? So you straight up learned on that instrument like when you started?
I plucked away at it, but I got a little older, and my mom ended up getting me this like Strat copy. It was called a Slammer Hammer. Did you ever see those?
No.
It's like a black like Strat copy, like a kind of like a mini Strat, but that's what I learned on. Um, so yeah, uh, I tried to learn on that, but I was not good yet. So
Did you come from like a musical family? Like, was music in the house a lot?
I mean, as far as instruments, no. I mean, my mom used to sing in church and stuff, but as far as like my immediate family, instruments weren't really a thing. So it's kind of just like a natural, feeling that I don't know, like a connection with instruments that I had at a young age. But I mean, we were always listening to music, like classic rock and Motown and um, yeah, stuff like that. So
That's great. So what was like the first impressionable record that hit you like in the soul in terms of like you heard it like a record maybe that your mom was spinning or something, you're like, what is that? Like what was the first, do you have like a 5 is young. I mean, I was in middle school when
yeah,
I started playing guitar. So like that's super young. Like, but do you have like an impressionable moment like from hearing a tune, like a specific tune?
yeah. Actually, we had this like we had this blue van growing up. It was the '90s. It was like a Chrysler, and she had all these tapes in her car, and she had like Temptation's greatest hits, and she'd pop that in, and like I don't know, that was like my favorite. That whenever she would put that tape in, that was my favorite. So I feel like Temptation's greatest hits was the first album that I fell in love with as a kid, and I knew all the words. And then the Temptations movie, she showed me the Temptations movie, and that like blew my shit up. I loved it. So yeah, I think it was the Temptations. there were like a bunch of songs that I knew as a kid, like every word, and I would just sing them all the time, you know.
That's
um,
awesome.
yeah.
Did you have like so the 90s? I mean, like I'm gonna date myself, but I mean I'm 42, and that's what I cut my teeth on is like the grunge era. Like, did that enter you too? Like, as far as it's I went backwards. I started with the grunge, and then I got into R&B and soul and blues and stuff.
Nice.
But like, it sounds like maybe you went in the reverse order. Like you were exposed to the good stuff first.
Man, I wish so bad that I was at an age like where grunge were like if it had hit me as a teenager, that would have been awesome. But I wasn't exposed to it. Um, it just wasn't like growing up. I didn't get really exposed to Nirvana or like, any real kind of like meaty grunge until probably high school, which for me was like 2005, 2000. Yeah. I don't even, how old am I? What year is it? I'm like, what? Um, t yeah, but I feel like my version of grunge was like Dashboard Confessional, which is like whiny
Yeah.
grunge, like, but my sister would always have those CDs in her car and she would blast that stuff. And um, that was like my grunge. But so yeah, I did go reverse. Um, started with like Motown, a bunch of soul stuff from my mom's side, and then my dad was all like classic rock. And in college, after like LimeWire was a thing, that's like when I just started to
Hmm.
discover like, blues. Um, it, like I really dove into Zeppelin in college and like just all these rock groups. So yeah, I think it is reverse pretty much for me.
Yeah. That's cool. That's rad. I mean, I think that the grunge movement, I even hate to call it that because I'm such a Pearl Jam fan. I'm like, I'm just like, that's not, they're great. They're just a great rock and roll band. I keep trying to tell my daughter, like, some live PJ stuff will come on shuffle and like, greatest rock and band in the world, rock and roll band. She's like, Psh, no, I don't think so. I'm like, yes, for real, they are. But it's interesting because like the Motown and the blues stuff, like I didn't grow up in a house with music on all the time. Like I had to
Uh-huh.
seek stuff out. But like once I found that stuff, and I think like Standing in the Shadows of Motown, that documentary, was the first time I was like, whoa, like I never knew about the Funk Brothers and
Hmm.
that whole rhythm section and how they were using all those records. And then like learning about, where that music came from. You know how you have to kind of keep going back? Like,
Yeah,
maybe I started with Mike McGready and then I was like, who's this Stevie Ray Vaughan guy? Who's
yeah,
this Hendrix guy? Who's
yeah.
like Mississippi John Hurt? Like it's like figuring out like where did all these influences come from is so interesting. But like what's your favorite blues record? Like what was like the thing about blues? And was it like Bottleneck stuff or was it Electric Muddy Water stuff? Like what was it?
Mm. My favorite blues record, "Couldn't Stand the Weather" by Stevie
Oh
Ray
yeah.
Vaughan. I mean, I don't know. I downloaded this, like, I love it so much that when I was really, like, I wasn't really touring yet in, let's see, well, what was it, like 4 years ago or something? Um, Sorry if you can hear my dog. I hope not.
Mine's right here, so it's okay.
Okay.
He's chilling.
She's she's wild. But anyway, um, so I wasn't really touring and I was diving into like, the the curriculum. And it's like, where did this come from? Oh, Muddy Waters, and you go all the way back and it's like, well, how did they get it? Like, and so that's when I discovered Couldn't Stand the Weather and I loved it so much that I downloaded this app where you can upload any song from Spotify and slow it down or speed it up. So I slowed down every song on that record and learned all the licks. It
Man.
took me forever, but like it was just like so satisfying. I mean, I obviously don't sound like Stevie because no one sounds like Stevie, but like it was a journey. Like that, I don't know, something about that record and his vocals on it and all the songs are just they just stick to me. I
Yeah.
don't know what it is. But
everybody overlooks
yeah,
his voice too. I mean, it's like, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot
yeah,
of people that just don't pay attention to how well that dude sang too. It's a
yeah,
shame, you know, because there's a
yeah,
lot of great stuff that dude was doing on many records, vocally speaking.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's a good
for
one
sure.
though. It's funny because there's a bunch of people like I think Jesse Davey, when I had Jesse Davey on here from Kingtone, he was talking about that was the first record that like lit his fire. I've had like 3 people that have said that record, and it's like, all right, I need to go back and listen to that album again because it's been a minute. Like it's
Oh
been a
man,
oh, it's good. It's real
it's
good.
so good. Yeah, it's so
When did
good.
you when did you like first start like how old were you when you were gigging out? So if you're 5 and you're like, oh, this music thing, this guitar thing, like how old were you when you were first starting to play out in front of people?
Man, it took me a while, because I was so shy. Like, um, I wanted to be in bands so bad in high school, you know. But the only way that I could really play music, like I wasn't, you know, a cool kid. So I was like, well, I guess I'll be in band. Like, so that was the way that I played music. But I would go home and then, you know, just kind of lock my door and play guitar all night, and that was the thing. And I didn't start playing out until I was like 20.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, it's been like I guess 11 years since I started doing all this, like for real.
man.
Um, yeah, yeah, it's
Do you
been a
feel like
journey.
do you feel like in high school when you were going through that? Because it's a shame, and that's like something I'm trying to not make happen for my daughter because she's super into music. But like it's always been like a boys' club, which has been annoying my whole life. I've noticed that. Did it feel that way for you in high school? Where like I can't do it because it's a boys' club and blah blah blah. Like it's such a shame.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a
Too
bummer.
dumb.
Like I didn't know any girls that would like be in my band, you know. I
Right.
even I you know, like I mean, I had guitars and stuff hang up, and whenever like my friends would come over, I'd be like, "Do you guys want to play music?" And they're like, "No." I'm like, "Oh man!" Like, yeah, it was just nobody. So it was that, and then like, you know, the people who were in bands were like metal dudes where I was in school, and it's like, I don't know how to. I can't. I mean, I can't really do that in my khaki shorts, you know. Like, so, like I can't get up in my button down playing metal with you guys, you know. So it was like it seemed very unattainable in high
Right.
school. But yeah, I mean, if I could do it again, I would just be like, "Hey, I started a band," and then maybe people would be like, "Oh, can I be in it?" You know, like,
Yeah.
so your daughter should just like straight up put a poster on a door and be like, started a band, auditions now, you know? And then people will be like, oh, scarcity, like I want it, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah.
Man, it's such a weird I mean, hopefully, obviously, there's a lot of division in our country. We won't get into that, but like, hopefully things are changing that way. I can remember being super into Fiona Apple, like in high school, and getting like crap from my friends, and I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, what? Because she's a
Yeah.
girl? Like,
Yeah.
what? She's killing. Like, are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
It's just a shame that that even existed. I mean, but anyway,
I don't
you're
know.
breaking shit down, so it's like walls.
Hey, that's awesome.
The
I'm
world's
so
about to
glad.
know. Yeah.
Man, that
Um,
rules. Thanks.
yeah. What was your first guitar rig besides that like slammer hammer? Like what were you playing through? Like what was the first amp and like first effect pedal?
Oh man, I still have my first pedals, the DS1, Boss DS1.
Of course.
Um, and I had a crate amp, you know, like one of those crates. It sounded so bad. Like, and like I didn't at the time I had it, I was like, okay, I don't really know anything about tone right now, but I know this is not what it should be. um, but yeah, I mean, looking back, like it's kind of rad. I kind of wish I had it now because, like, I wonder what it would sound like now. if I had it. I feel like my mom probably sold it in a garage sale or something, but yeah, it
You
was
could
a
probably
crate amp.
find one. You could
Yeah,
probably find
maybe
one
I
for
should just get
50
one.
bucks, you know?
I should just get one. Yeah. Um, DS1, a crate amp, and then I upgraded. I begged her for a an upgrade on the guitar, and then for Christmas one year, I walked down and saw this red Ibanez. Um, I forgot the model, but I spent all day playing that thing, and it was so much fun.
Man.
So fun. Yeah.
Still feels the same way, right? When you get a new axe, like it's like Christmas every time you pick one of those, like a new guitar up or something,
Yeah.
gear wise. That's how I feel, at
Yeah.
least. So,
For
uh,
real. Yeah.
so speaking of first amps, you should totally get one of those because I just found my first amp was a little PV Rage 108. It's like an 8-inch speaker, and I actually did a video on my YouTube channel of like, can boutique pedals make a piece of crap amp sound good? And I'll be damned if it didn't. Like,
I need to watch
just
that.
dude, I was like while I was doing it, because even putting like a reverb pedal into it, I was like, oh my god, it already sounds 10 times better. And then like you know about VS Audio? You know about that company?
VS Audio. No.
So they're a Greek-based effects pedal company, and they have this thing called the Blackbird, and it's basically supposed to simulate like a brown or black panel Fender. And just putting that at the end of the chain or whatever, like before that, I was like, this amp, I could totally gig with this amp. I could put a mic on it and it would be fine. So it
That
might be
rules.
it might be a fun experiment. Like, get your old crate, man. Why
I
not?
should. I think I'm going to because, you know, I have these rehearsals and I have this huge amp and it sounds great, but it's like for rehearsals, I went into a music shop today and I was like, should I just like buy a small tube amp? And I was like,
Yeah.
well, if I come home with a small tube amp, my wife's gonna be like, what? Why did you buy this? Come on, like, what are you doing? So yeah, maybe if I just show up with a crate and be like, I got it for $20, she'll be like, oh, okay. Yeah.
What are you playing through? What's the big amp?
So when I'm up here in my music room, I've got a concert reverb amp, which is a 4x10 open back
Ooh,
combo. Oh, it's so nice.
that's
It's
awesome.
so great. I love it. And then downstairs, that's where I keep my touring amp, which is a 410 DeVille. Um, and I wish I could take the concert reverb on tour, but it's just like I don't have a case for it. I feel like it's really fragile.
Yeah.
I've had it serviced a couple times, so I was like, man, I need something similar that's gonna be pretty rugged. So I got that DeVille.
Yeah. That's a killer amp. It's like a chameleon. That thing can do anything, really.
I know.
That's a
Yeah.
great amp. I wanted to talk to you. I'm gonna dive into the new record, Outlier, because
Cool.
I told you I freaking love it. It's great. And I think what hit me so hard about listening to that album is the juxtaposition between the music that you write and your voice. Because I find that like you have this ability that is just mind-boggling to me with your vocals, that you can be fragile and very elegant and still get across some killer message that may not have that same synonymous feeling. It's like the Elliott Smith thing, like writing a
Oh man.
really sad sounding tune but writing uplifting lyrics kind of thing in a way. But your voice, it goes so well with your music because it's not what you expect, I guess, in a way, in a good way. um and I really love your vocals on this album, and your voice sounds great.
Thanks.
So I just wanted to get into like how you recorded this album and the stuff you used on it, and even about songwriting. As a songwriter, I'm curious what your process is and how you pick and choose what tunes are going to be on the record and all that, because you have a lot of really interesting layers on this album. It sounds like there's a bunch of synthy stuff
Yeah.
in the undercurrent and the undercut, like that's like just in there enough to give you a little juice.
Yeah.
So walk me through this record and like the process of it and everything. I'm so curious because it's so great, man.
Oh man, thanks. Well, thanks for all the kind words. I'm so glad. I'm so glad it you like the juxtaposition of my voice with like, rock tunes, because like sometimes I'm like confused by my own sound. Like what is this? But it's like I don't know what else to do. So here you go. But
Right.
um yeah, for this record, man, we were on the road. It was pre-pandemic, and we were driving in the van to like Cleveland or something. And my bass player was driving, and I was in the front seat. And he was like, we were listening to Mini Mansions, Michael Schumann's um, like solo project, and he's the bass player for Queens of the Stone Age. And we were driving, and Evan was like, "Dude, have you ever thought about Michael Schumann doing your record?" And I was like, "Oh my god, that'd be amazing." But yeah, right. And he's like, "Dude, just ask. Like, ask if you could, like, if your manager knows anybody." I was like, I mean, can't hurt.
Right.
So my manager was like, okay, I'll see. I'll see. I mean, why not? I'll figure out how to get in contact with him. And he did. And like that same night, like we were in the hotel room after the show, and I got this email from him, and I was like, oh my god. Like, it was crazy. Cause like I'm such a huge fan of Queens. The
Yeah.
guys, my bass player and drummer, like we're all just, I mean, we listen to Queens, Many Mansions, you know, um, Caius, like all that stuff, like on the road. So like that was a huge moment. But I wanted to pair with somebody like him because of his production stuff. Like if
Mhm.
you listen to Mini Mansion stuff, it's like every single instrument is its own hook. Like even the drum fills, you're like, oh, that's a catchy drum fill. So I wanted to like step outside of the blues rock box, like really bad, because I don't know. There's just like a feeling of being pigeonholed into it that I didn't want to feel anymore. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I mean, I started working with him, and he kind of opened my world up to like synths, because I was really reserved with synths. I was like, I don't want synths, no synths ever,
Right.
like
Right.
no way. Um, that's some wussy stuff. And he was like, dude, like, why do you think that? That's false. Listen to how badass this synth can be. You just haven't found the right tones. I'm like, oh, okay, you're right. So he ended up like putting a lot of synth stuff in the demos that I sent. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is pretty badass. Like, okay. So we just kind of passed files back and forth. Like, he's in LA, I'm in Austin. So we did that whole thing. And then I went out there to record, and we did it in his garage studio. I mean, it was like, it's
Nice.
really small, but it was so much fun because it was like this experience where you don't have all these bells and whistles to choose from. Like it forced me to focus on the lyrics, the arrangement, the tones, like it not having a $10,000, you know, rack of $10,000 compressors, or like all these delay, like, you walk into a studio and you see all these toys, and it can take away your focus. So not having all that stuff, I think, was like a blessing in disguise, because I got to, you know, really make sure that every song made sense if you were to read the lyrics, you know, just as a story. Like,
Mhm.
okay, well, this line leads into the next line, and it's a whole thing, and it's like you're not just spitting whatever. There's structure to it. Um, so yeah, I think, I don't know, the whole experience was really fun. I feel like I learned a lot from Michael, and yeah, I wanted to make something that would be like that I thought would be classic, and like somebody could listen to 20 years from now and still feel that it was relevant.
Mhm.
Um, so that was the goal. Yeah.
I mean, I think you nailed it, honestly. I mean, it's th
Thanks.
that's kind of how I felt when I listened to it, because I've listened to it through it several times, and just being like a fly on the wall, appreciating music, kind of a dude. Like, I feel like you could listen to that song or that album 1,000 times, and like on the 1,000th time, you're still gonna find something new that you didn't hear before. And it's because there's so much, like, I think one of my favorite tunes on that record is LANY, because I love your melody, your vocal melody in that
Oh,
tune. Like
thanks.
that one hooked me pretty hard real quick. But like there's so much depth in it from song to song. It feels like the songs themselves are a story that's just building on each other. Like as you listen to it, like harmonically,
Oh
even like
yeah.
when you listen to the music on that record, it just kind of like somersaults into each other, each song, and it feels like, and not like in a way that everything sounds the same, like in like an arc of a story kind of thing.
Oh
um
man, that's awesome.
so because it doesn't sound like it was recorded in a garage, like at all.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the drums sound big. Like, what were you guys doing with, did you track like live and did like scratch tracks and then just capture the bass and drums, or how did you like approach like the record?
We did it in a really interesting way, in a way that I've never done it before. Initially, initially we tried to do it like, you know, okay, me, bass player, drummer, let's all be in the live tracking room. Let's do it. Let's get the bass and drums, and then I'll overdub what I have to do. Like that's traditionally what like I do, and most people do when I'm in the studio. And for some reason, like since we didn't get, I guess, like the time to be face to face, Michael and I, to flesh out the full arrangement of stuff, the guys and I kind of went in there like not really knowing what to play, which is terrifying when you think about it. Like I, like when I say that out loud, I'm like, oh my god, I feel so anxious about that. So there was a moment when Michael walks in and he was like, "Y'all just need to rehearse," and I was like, "No." But so we only had like a week, for the guy, like my bass player and my drummer. So they were only out there for a week. We had to like get moving. I was like, man, we can't just like rehearse. That's like a waste of your time. So basically what we did, my drummer was just in the room by himself. We were in the tracking room. And as we went, we were just like, communicating with him through the mic, through his headphones. We were like, all right, play this fill. And here's the arrangement. And no, it's changing here. Like we basically arranged everything kind of on the spot.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, it was, I don't think it would have gone as well if it wasn't that mix of people though, because Michael's so fucking cool. Oh, sorry.
That's all
Let
right.
me edit. I
That's
apologize. Oh,
no,
like
no,
he's
it's
so
fine.
cool. um, and I don't know. He's like, I feel like a good producer brings out your best qualities, and he really did that. And the time crunch thing, uh, kind of lit a fire under everybody, and so we had to focus on, all right, what's the best arrangement for this? And so we recorded drums, um, like separately, like he was just in there, and then we did bass in the tracking room on top of that, and then the guys left, and I did everything else, with him, like by myself, and then the engineer. Um, but yeah, a lot of it was done kind of on the fly.
Man.
Um, so, but at the same time, there was like a lot of thought that went into the mixing factor of it. Like a lot of like little tricks and stuff that the guy who mixed it, Kian, he and Michael were like, they're like, okay, we have these record tracks, let's like make them like magical. So a lot of the record came from the way it was mixed, like the way it sounds is just, yeah. I think that's why it sounds not like it was recorded in a garage, because we got those solid kind of tracks recorded, and then really the creativity from it happened after we got the basic recorded tracks.
Yeah. Did you like doing the record this way? Like, would you do it again like that? Or was it too stressful?
I would do it again.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like I was gambling, which is a rush, but I feel
Yeah.
like I kind of won, maybe
No,
won
totally, man.
craps.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
It seems
yeah,
like a formula that worked for you. I mean, you know, why not do it again like that? I mean, I feel
yeah,
like when you first write a song, so you're sitting on your couch, got some ideas, you're like, oh, I like that. Writing it down. Are you the kind of writer who like wants to just like be fresh and like go in and get it on tape, like because that's where the magic happens in the rawness, or do you like flush stuff out and you're like, this needs to be tweaked, this needs to be tweaked? And because I sometimes find that if I labor over it too much for too long, it gets stale. Like it loses the energy it had in the beginning. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I mean, usually what I'll do is I'll be like, oh man, I got that feeling. I got that feeling that something's going to come out. So I'll just sit at my desk and kind of plug into my setup and just hit record. And then, sometimes I'll have like 20, 30 minutes of garbage. And then there's one lick that I'm like, oh, that's the one. So then I'll take like that lick and write the song around that. And it's
Mm,
like, I kind of just like cast this really wide net. And it's like, if there's one little thing in there that I feel like hits me, then I'm like, okay, that's the thing. I got to keep going with that. Um, so that's kind of how I do it. And then a lot of like ideas, just you know, I have so many voice notes of just bad stuff,
yeah,
like
me
not
too.
not good. But when I get some free time, I'll go through all like 1,000 of them and see if there's anything I didn't feel like was good at the time, but maybe now I do.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I feel like it's just kind of I take like a historian approach almost, where, well, let me just vomit all these ideas out, and then if there's something great in it, I'll just take that and run with it. So
Yeah. That's great. I mean, I think that's the perfect way to be about it. I had a mentor who was like, dude, like all these songs are fertilizer. You gotta write a bunch of crap before you're gonna grow anything. You know what I mean? Like that
yeah,
that always stuck with me like tremendously. Just that, and like if you write a good lyric that you feel like is so great, but it's the song's a little bit too long, you gotta trim the fat. He was always like, you gotta put these two lines in a cage and let them fight it out. You just have to.
dang,
They're both great, but you gotta let go of one of them. It's too much. It's going
yeah,
on too long. And that I was always like, oh, okay. So this is an art. This is kind of like there's a way to do it, you know. But I feel like for this record and putting this out and you being like courageous enough to be like, I'm gonna get away from the blues rock thing and try to do something new. Cause it's definitely a departure, but in a really cool way. Like,
thanks.
and like when you were recording this, first of all, what were you playing through? Like, what was your main guitar rig on this record?
Man, surprisingly, I hardly ever recorded with like humbuckers prior to this, but like I plugged in my Epiphone, my Stealth, like the signature model, and that's on like every song. And it was
Really?
so shocking because usually, in my experience, a guitar that sounds really full live, like in a live setting, is really muddy on record. And
Really?
so,
Okay.
yeah, like I don't know what it is, but in every experience that I've had personally, it's like, oh my God, I need a single coil for this, like bad. And so I was shocked that I mean, most of it was the Stealth. And then um, it, a lot of the cooler tones as well came from like different basses. So Michael had the magic bass is what they called it, and it was on like every Queen's record ever, and he brought it in, and it's this weird, it's like a Yamaha bass, and there's this knob on it where you can blend the pickups together instead of selecting them.
Ah.
So like a lot of like the like the buoyancy that you hear in like Cover of Virtue when it's like do 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 do, or like what's another one, Damage Control, like that's all that bass, because it's like, oh, you need something that like bounces, you know, like
Yeah,
it's
it's
gonna like,
thumpy.
you know,
Yeah, there's some
yeah,
thumpy stuff on there. That's cool.
yeah,
Man. Okay.
yeah. We used so many pedals though. I mean, by the time we were done, his floor was just covered in pedals. Um, you know, I think we used a Fender Princeton for a lot of stuff, and then there was also this amp that he had. Oh man, I forgot what it was called. It was some boutique amp that was really rare and old.
Mhm.
And then there was this one like tape machine that somebody had turned into an amp, and like that's on the record. Um, yeah, I'm trying to remember, but the drum sounds, it was funny because we watched, like I was watching the engineer Michael Harris. He's like a killer engineer, but I looked into the tracking room and he had a measuring tape out, making sure like where the overheads were exactly. Like I was like, oh, this dude's like legit. It was
It's like,
awesome.
this is my people kind of thing.
Yeah, it was
Oh man, that's
awesome.
great. That's killer. Let's
Yeah,
let's talk about the stealth real quick, because like how did you, is that a semi hollow or is it fully hollow?
it's semi
Semi?
hollow. Yeah.
Okay. Because how did you end up there? Because you're gonna have to educate me on semi hollow instruments, because I'm on the verge, Emily, of I'm a Strat guy. I've always been a Strat guy. I just sold, at one point I was a Sir artist, and I had 3 Sirs, and I just sold 2 Sir Strats, and I bought like my dream guitar. I bought like a custom shop Fender from Wildwood Guitars in Colorado.
Whoa, nice.
And I freaking love it. But I don't have any humbuckers right now. So I'm like, I need like a 335, or like look into those Collins I-35s, which those things are so expensive. I'm just like, there's no way I can afford that. I don't know who I think I am. But how did you end up on that instrument?
Man, while I was a college student, I was playing at the time. I was playing acoustic, because you're in a dorm, you can't be loud. You can't really um, have your amp there. So I play acoustic, and then I just really started to get into electric, and I really wanted to play electric. So I went into a guitar center, and I was trying to figure out like, man, I need an electric, but I don't really feel like, I was looking at them. I just don't feel anything for these strats or these tellies. And then like at the top row, I saw this Sheridan like just hanging there.
Yeah.
I just loved it because it looked like BB King's guitar, and
Mm-hmm.
I always thought Lucille was like the coolest guitar I'd ever seen. So that was like how, I mean, it was mainly aesthetic. And then I started to play it, and my playing started to kind of morph around that style. Because now, like when I play a telly or a strat, it feels not correct. Like when I'm standing,
Okay.
because it's like that now I just play with like a certain part of like my wrist, almost like a certain part of my wrist has to be in this like specific position.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I just got really used to it. Um, and I figured out which pedals were going to give me the sound from that guitar that I wanted. So it started as aesthetic, but now it's like a part of me.
Dude, I don't feel like there's any shame in this, in looking at a guitar and be like, that is a sexy guitar. I want that in my hands right now. Like,
Yeah. I
I
mean, that's
mean,
exactly what happened,
yeah, dude, I've been the same way. I was like, when I was picking out the Strat, looking at, you know how they do all the funky like colors, like they'll do have like a greens, like Sherwood green sparkle strat, or like
Yeah,
something
yeah.
really like outrageous. I was like, ooh, that's kind of ballsy to like play that on a stage in a way, but at the same time, it really looks cool. But I just went with Tobacco Sunburst because, man, that's a classic. And
Classic stuff.
what are you
Yeah.
gonna do, man?
Yeah.
Are you still rocking like for the tour that's coming up? I know that you just did a board with Mason.
Yeah.
Is that like your main board right now?
Main board. Oh my God, I love it. I love it so much.
Game changing in terms of like having him hook everything up like so it's not noisy. Like, tell me about it, because I'm like so curious how that changed the game for you.
Oh man. So I I love I loved my Gator case and my pedal board, but it was so big that it was almost its own production to take that board anywhere. Like, because the goal was, okay, I need all the pedals that I used on this record to recreate the sound live. And so I had, I bought all these different pedals that we used, and that's how it initially started. Um, is to recreate the live sound, and then rehearsal after rehearsal and show after show, I was like, I don't think I can take this on the road, because it's just so heavy, and it's like, I don't know, it just didn't feel practical.
Right.
Plus, like, if I get a call to, hey, can you open for this person overseas, or like, hey, can you fly to wherever, it's like I'd be kind of screwed with that board. I'd have to pay 75, $100 to get it there. Um, and like, I just don't want to I don't want to be penalized for that, in
Right.
terms of like financially penalized. So I don't know. I got to a point, and I love building my own boards, but I got to a point when I was like, I'm tired. I can't do this anymore. And I'm a big fan of his videos. So I was like, man, I'm just gonna see like if he would want to do this. And he was like, yeah. So I drove out there to see family, and while I was there, I got my board, redone, and now I can actually pick it up and take it downstairs, and I don't, hit the walls. And I mean, it was bad. Like, I've there is a lot of marks and holes in my walls because of it.
Dude,
Um,
amen.
yeah,
Amen.
I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, but
Was
it's
it
good
like
now
one of
though.
those the Gators, like are you talking about like those super heavy, like wide boards, like the Pedal Train Pro kind of thing? How that's like I can't even it's going out of out of frame, but like, was it like one of those big kind of honkers like those?
Man, it's a 34 by 17. Like, the
What?
actual board is 30. I mean, it's insane. Like, but at the
Dude,
same time, I mean, I was on Pedal Playground. You ever go on Pedal Playground?
no. What's that?
Oh my God, it's awesome. I don't know who does Pedal Playground, like who funds this or what, but there's somebody out in the world who made this free website called pedalplayground.com. And you can go on there, and you can like, drag like pedal icons and like basically map your board out. And so I was
What?
on there every night, just like, okay, I have 20 pedals that I used on this record that I need here for every show. And so it was like the only thing that fit size wise was 34 by 17. And
Oh my
Gator had
God.
this like G Tour extra large. And it was great. It was great for, if I had a roadie, if I didn't move my own equipment, I would absolutely have kept it.
Right.
But I don't, it's just me and my drummer and my bass player on the road. So like, we load in, we load out, we set up, we tear down. Like, I mean, it's all us. So like, I I
Yeah.
was like, I can't physically do this. Um,
Right.
like, but yeah, 34 by 17. And then the case is like 20 plus pounds on its own. So it
Man.
was like 69, 60 something pounds. I think it
Mm.
was above 65. um, which, I mean, if I'm at the gym and I need to lift some weights, somebody puts a 65 on, I can do it. But it's like, I don't want to do it when I'm trying to play music. So,
Right. Right. Yeah.
um,
I don't want to do it at work.
no way. It's like, it's too much. Yeah.
Well, if you still had it next time you come to Towson, if you needed someone to help carry crap, I would be happy to do it, just to see the size of the
Oh
the
man. Yeah, thanks.
board.
That's so sweet.
I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like the pedalboard game has changed so much in the past, even in the past like 10 years. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check out that site because I like things neat and tidy and like on my board. And there's plenty of dog hair. He's right there. He's the culprit, but there's plenty of dog hair all over my board. But I like smaller. I like switched to the pedal train junior like 10 years ago. So I usually am only
Yeah.
rocking like 6 or 7 pedals. But I like it to be nice and neat and shiny. And like what
Yeah.
Mason did with yours was just so streamlined. It looked like it was like indestructible from what
I
I saw.
mean, it is. And it's like now I just don't have to worry about it. And I don't know. It's just nice to be able to have a portable board, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like it's got the the thing where you can do
Yeah.
that. It's like it
The
feels
little
like
riser.
I'm looking under the hood of like a Ferrari or something. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
it's
That's
fun.
dope.
It's really fun.
That's dope. What's like your dream rig? Like if you could pick any amp company to play through. I mean, I know you got your guitar, so you're set there, but like is there something that you like, I would really like to play through one of these?
Oh man, Magnetone stuff. I'd love to play through Magnetone stuff, but it's like, those are up there price wise. Um,
Yeah. I know
yeah.
the GM. I know the
Really?
GM. I can have him. He was on the show. And I
What?
should hook you guys up because they are dope. Like he let me borrow what's the it's not the Twilighter. Because it was just a single 12 amp. I can't remember off the top of my head what the amp model was. But dude, like super like I play through a 2-rock. I love my 2-rock, but like this thing was like a different beast. It was like crispy, punchy. There was a boost circuit in it. So like, it's loud as hell. Like I think it was only 15 watts, but it was plenty loud to compete with the drummer. But it was clean loud, and with that boost button, man, it broke up just the way you would probably love it. I mean,
Wow.
it was a good. I was hoping they were gonna let me keep it, but they didn't let me keep it.
Oh
Um,
man.
but it's there.
Yeah.
I hear you. They're good.
Man. Yeah. The first time I ever and the only time I ever played one was at NAMM, and like Billy Gibbons had them up there, and we were doing this whole like blues jam at the end. It was like Billy Gibbons, Peter Frampton, like just monster people up there, and they put me up there too. I was like,
Rightly so,
"Sup?"
dude.
Thanks, thanks. That means a lot. But
Yeah.
yeah, they were like, "Okay, we're gonna plug you into this Magnetone." I was like, "Oh, okay." I usually play like Fender stuff, but they're like, "This is Gibson. Like, we're not gonna plug
Yeah.
you into a Fender." So I was like, "Correct. Okay." So yeah, so they plugged me in this Magnetone, and it was like amazing, just everything I wanted. Because I mean, I love a Fender amp, but there's a part, there's like I don't even know what it is. There's something to a Magnetone where it feels like creamier or something. Like
Yeah.
I
It's
can't
a quirky
really
left
explain it.
turn
Yeah.
from everything else that's out there, and it was the Varsity Reverb. That's what it was.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Varsity Reverb, and that thing
yeah.
so loud. Like I mean, like peel the paint. Like I couldn't turn it up that loud in this room because I was just like, dude, it's gonna like I'm gonna knock pictures off the wall. Like Paul McCartney's gonna
Yeah.
fall. Um, but you should definitely, yeah, we'll talk. So,
Oh man, that's awesome.
but
Wow, cool.
what fuzz are you playing through right now? Are you playing through a fuzz pedal?
I have a fuzz. Uh, it's a dirt transmitter.
I
Um,
don't know that
I
company.
wish I had it. I wish I had it out. But it's a discontinued fuzz pedal by Earthquaker.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, and it's a lot like the Eruptor. Like
Oh
it
yeah.
sounds almost identical, but the difference between this one is this one has like a tone, or Dirt Transmitter has a tone, a level, a bias, and a dirt. So, I mean, if you like, if you hit this one on, it's like that's the volume you
No
get. There's
mistaking.
no, yeah, like you're not gonna change this volume. So yeah, I mean, I use that, and then I love an OCD.
Okay.
And I always put this in front of an OCD, the tentacle. It's like I mean, it just sounds like a fuzz. Like you can turn any drive into a fuzz with it. It's pretty crazy.
That's rad.
So yeah, I love that pedal. It's probably my favorite.
Nice. I haven't played through any Earthquaker stuff. I should check it out. It's always like been elusive to me that it's like sometimes I see it and then it fades into the ether and then I forget about that company and then I see
Really?
somebody. Yeah, but like I always hear great things about their stuff. So
Yeah, I mean they're like they make such great circuits.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you play fuzz? What fuzz are you playing?
Oh, I love fuzz. Yeah, I'm a fuzz junkie. Right now on my board it's the Kingtone Silicon Fuzz.
Nice.
But I usually float between that and then I have one of those Burkos Effects Third Stone fuzzes. That's like the Jimi Hendrixy kind of vibe.
Yeah.
It's like a fuzz. It's a fuzz face. But I also this thing is crazy. The Mythos Argo. This is like
Cool.
it's like an octave fuzz, so it's like Band of Gypsies in a box kind of thing. But man, like there's so many great fuzz pedals right now. I mean, there's just like, I mean, I'm looking at like 7 right now in this drawer. But
which ones? Name them. Name them.
So well, here's one more. So like this is also Mythos. Do you know about Mythos pedals, Zach Boyles?
I've heard of Mythos. I haven't played any though.
So this is Joey Landreth's signature fuzz.
Oh, nice.
And it's a small, footprint, whatnot, but it's a fuzz face and it breaks up great and it cleans up amazingly well, like really, really, really well. So this is another one of my faves, but also the one that I mentioned earlier that's not on the board right now, but this thing. So this is Doyle Bramhall. Is how I heard about this thing. He had it on his board in some rig rundown, and when he turned that on, like so. This is how nerdy I am for Doyle. So he had this and he had the Jan Ray.
Yeah.
And he was like, here's the trick to fuzz. And this is like so obvious now, but like he's like, when people use fuzz, they're like usually just like put on a fuzz pedal and call it a day. But he's like, what people don't understand is like you should put an overdrive with it to smooth out the harshness of a fuzz. And I was like, huh? Won't that get too muddy? Or whatever. And then he put these 2 on, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's Doyle. That's the Doyle sound." So I immediately like went on Reverb and was trying to find used. I found this Jan Ray I found used for a decent price because it was kind of like there was a screw missing or whatever. But this I hawked Reverb for like 2 months.
That one?
That's the Burkos Effects Third Stone.
Oh man, that looks cool.
It's pretty rad. Yeah. But so like that for me was it. I was like, that's the fuzz tone I always look for is Doyle's sound. Because it's like it's fuzzy and woolly and big and like sounds like your amp's caving in on itself. But at the same time, like you can hear every single note and every articulation. And I think it's because of that overdrive with it. It's just taking off the harshness. Because I like it when stuff feels like it's like it's about to blow up. You know what I mean? Totally. Which this one, let me see if I can find. I think it's right here. Oh, dude, have you played that Chase Bliss Automatone thing?
The one with the faders?
The sliders?
No, I haven't.
That thing is the truth. It's crazy.
It's good?
Oh my God, dude. I got a really good deal on one. That's the only reason I bought it. But it's got everything in there from, I think that pedal show, they did like a show on how versatile that thing is that you can basically make it sound like any overdrive or fuzz.
Wow.
they like they had a King of Tone, and they kind of tweaked it and made it sound just like the King of Tone, and just A-B back and forth. And I was like, I
Wow.
can't tell the difference.
That's so cool.
I have another crazy fuzz that my buddy built. Oh, here it is. It's also in like a tone bender like casing. This thing.
Oh, whoa.
I was like, did you model this after Buddy Guy or something? Like,
Yeah, I
what's
was like, is that a Buddy
something
Guy
about, yeah?
thing?
It's not. So, but this thing, so that he's like a newer company. It's called Zero. He's based in Northern California, but like it's like a tone bender, and it sounds like this thing sounds like my amp's on fire, and I love that.
Wow.
So
I love that too.
yeah, just a couple. But he makes, you know what else he does that's really cool is he works on those old Bell and Howell projector amps. You know how
Yeah.
Blake Mills uses that? Like,
Yes.
so he does those too. I'm gonna get one from him at some point. Get him to build me one because they sound awesome. So
Man, speaking of that, have you sorry.
I love show and tell.
I know, it's great. Have you tried the Walrus 385? Because that one, you got yours.
Yeah, I love this thing, man. How
rules.
cool! Like this
So
thing,
cool.
so articulate.
I'm like, are you playing the note for me? Like, because it like sounds like the note is like came out of this before I played it. That's how it's like. It's so responsive. It's nuts.
100%. And let me ask you this: why on earth is Walrus not pushing that more?
I don't know. It's like the best. I mean, honestly, this pedal is on every song on the record, on my record, like every single one.
That's
this
awesome.
is like, I mean, this is like the tone that we used, and then this and the Walrus Julia chorus, like that was it, you know, and like a rat, but yeah, that pedal's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, when I got it, I was kind of upset that they don't push it more because I was like, dude, this is probably one of the best things you guys make, and nobody knows about it. Like,
yeah, it sounds so hip too. It's like an overdrive that's like, it's like the brooding cool kid in the back of the room, you know, like, oh, they're so cool, but they're not going to tell you they're cool, you know. It's like that pedal.
Yeah, that's a great description. You know, and this is the thing, Emily, this is the thing I was talking about from VS Audio. It's the Blackbird.
Oh, cool.
So it has the, like, you know, brown era and black panel era, and then it has like a gain toggle too. So if you want a little bit more bite, you could do that. But yeah, it's all toys. It's all fun toys, man. So
fun. I love pedals. I have way too many, but then I somehow want more, you know. I don't know.
That's because they're always coming out with cool stuff. Like, did you ever play through the Gladio at all? Like this thing?
No. That looks great though. I always like a pedal that looks like a necessary engine, you know? Like like you have to plug into this or like you won't, you're gonna die, you know.
It's like punching in the numbers in the bunker and Lost, you know, every whatever 7 hours. That's how that one feels, man.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's so many good companies right now, and that company is based in Italy, and it's Emilio and his wife Linda that build them all. And I think they got help now that there's somebody else helping build them. But like, they're such wonderful people. I love so Walrus. I feel the same way about Walrus. They just are like wonderful people. I like supporting people that I would love to hang out with. You know what I mean? So
totally.
I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Emily, let's do the lightning round get down so you can get back to your night. So I'm going to do something really quick. So this is a little bit of a metronome to create some suspense. You don't have to be scared. It's just some suspense. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you 10 questions.
Okay.
And it's, you know, this or that kind of a situation. If you want, you can explain your answer and why you answered the way you did, or you can just cruise through them, whatever you'd like.
Okay.
First question is always the same. Lennon or McCartney?
McCartney.
Pizza?
He seems more humble.
Yeah. Pizza or tacos?
Pizza.
R2 or C3PO?
C3PO.
Soundgarden or Pearl Jam?
I'm gonna break your heart and say Soundgarden.
That's fine.
Sorry.
I love Soundgarden. LA or New York?
Oh, LA. There's more space there.
Alrighty. Chappelle Show or SNL?
Chappelle Show.
Me too.
Yeah.
Silicon or germanium?
Oh man, silicon. I don't want that weather to affect it. You know what I'm saying?
I do indeed. Spicy food or no spice?
No spice.
No
I
spice.
wish I liked spicy food, but I just can't. I can't
There's probably
do it.
a lot of great spicy food where you are, right?
There's so much spicy food. It's just like I just don't want to put myself through pain while I'm trying to enjoy food. Like, you know, like,
I know.
I respect people who can do it though.
Okay, fair enough. Zip up or pull over hoodie?
Zip up.
Okay. All right, and this is the last one. Sometimes this is the hardest, sometimes it's the easiest. If you could take one album, doesn't have to be your favorite album of all time, could be whatever. But if you could take one record and you could erase it from your memory, so like you've never heard it, just so you could go back now and listen to it again for the first time to experience it, what album would that be?
Wow, that's a good question. Songs for the Deaf, probably.
There you go. Okay, so where were you when you first heard that? How old were you?
I was like 22. I hadn't been exposed to Queens until I met my bass player, actually. And he was like, "Do you get down with Queens?" I was like, "I mean, I've never like dived in." And he was like, "Dude, here, like," I was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing. What had I been missing out on?" Yeah, so he was the guy that sparked my interest in Queens.
Nice. That's a good friend, man. That's a good friend.
No, he's
That
the best
record,
friend.
that's good. That's awesome. It's good to. So, is your band? You guys are all buddies. Like it's,
Oh
when
yeah, we're like
that's awesome.
family at this point. I mean, I think like one of the reasons why I love going on tour is because we just laugh the whole time and like go to the casino. Because we don't have casinos in Texas because they're illegal here. So anytime we can go to the casino, it's like rolling dice on the craps, you know.
Oh man, that's fun.
Yeah, but they're great. They're great players, great guys. They're clean, really clean dudes, which is rare to find here in Austin. You know.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Emily, dude, you don't know how much this meant to me for you to do this. I love your music. I love what you're doing. I'm so bummed I'm not going to be around when you're in Towson to play that gig because I was like, oh, when I saw the date. But you'll be back, so I'll come see you. Bring my wife and maybe my kid. We'll see if it's whenever the show is. She needs to
we'll
be
see
exposed.
if and then she can form her band, and then we can play the show together.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, thank you again. Thank you so much. If where can everybody find? So all your music's on Spotify and everything, but where else can they go?
Apple Music, Amazon, iTunes, YouTube, pretty much anywhere.
Then what's your website?
Bandcamp, EmilyWolfemusic.com.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Emily. You guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. It was awesome hanging with you. Everybody, take care of yourself. Take care of each other. And we'll see you next time.